So one of the topics we're going to talk about today, since it's the end of this year, almost the beginning of next year, is actually not New Year's resolutions, but it's habits, right? Like
Yeah.
breaking habits. And what are the habits that keep you stuck in a cycle so you actually don't make certain changes? That's all I have.
How do you break a habit? I mean,
Um,
is that what some people are interested in, focus on?
Do you guys set New Year's resolutions? Does anyone have New Year's resolutions? Like, where's the chat? Do you guys have New Year's resolutions? Anyone?
Love this. Nice.
New Year's resolutions? What are you guys wanting to do? What goals are you setting? Um,
So Jackie says, how can you start new, better habits when you're still holding on to bad ones?
you can't.
You can't. That's the answer. You got to let go of the old one and replace it with a new one. So we'll briefly go over habits because it's like what Crystal said. I think this was on another call, but when you set a goal but you don't change the habit, then basically like the consistency factor isn't there because you haven't replaced the root problem. So when it comes to changing habits, it's about identifying the trigger first. So it's trigger, right? Trigger, and then from there it's action, and then it's pattern. Trigger, action, pattern. Trigger, action, pattern, right? So when you identify the trigger of the bad habit, so this is from bad habit to and replacing it with a new habit that you want to start. This is the formula. And it's very simple. Just so keep everything as simple as possible. This is what I encourage you all to do. Forget about all the beliefs you've had in the past. Think about the beliefs you have right now in this present moment. Because who you are right now in this present moment is a different version of yourself. And so when it comes to, changing habits, it's about identifying the habit first, identifying what is the trigger that leads to the action, which leads to the pattern, because the pattern is just the actions consistently repeated over time. So if you want to change the bad habit, all you have to do is first find out exactly what is causing that habit first. So identify, right? So trigger, identify the trigger. And then right after you identify the trigger, because the action will happen, the bad habit will happen. Then from there, that's when you replace that bad habit with the one that you want to start. Okay. And then from there, you go ahead and, after you change the action, that sets a new pattern. Does that make sense? What? What? We've gone over this before.
Yes. So, okay, so there's this is so cool that they could put pictures in here now.
Here, let me help you out.
So Burge put a quote in and
Okay. Oh.
Shun just made it disappear. It says,
Oh my God.
sir,
What? I'm new to this. It's my first Zoom ever.
what if New Year's resolutions were less about what's wrong with you and more about nourishing what you need to reach your goals?
Very nice.
I love that. It shows a lot of compassion for yourself, right? Because when you're breaking an old habit or multiple old habits, you have to have a lot of compassion and grace for yourself because sometimes this habit is probably something you've had for a while that you've been trying to change, but you just haven't been able to. And so you kind of go into this cycle of, again, maybe beating yourself up or telling yourself all the reasons why you can't or why you haven't since. So really having a lot of compassion for yourself and seeing like where it is that you need help in or nourishing in to be able to actually accomplish it, right? Angela says being aware of it, replace it with small changes, establish and decide to change, plan your small changes. Yes. And so this is actually exactly what I was thinking about. Sometimes people they have habits and these habits, I mean, if you decided to, you can make the decision, but most of the time people have a very hard making a decision and committing to the decision that they made. And so what may be easier is, well, obviously, number one, you have to be aware of it, right? Like, are you aware of any habits that you have or any things that are holding you back from achieving a certain goal that you've been setting out there kind of over and over again? Maybe it's limiting beliefs, maybe it's like generational stuff, how you grew up, how your parents raised you. And after a while, it's like you can't really blame your upbringing. At some point, you're an adult and you're responsible for yourself. So you have to take accountability in what it is that you learned and unlearning it, right? So being aware of not just, what you want to change, but why you can't change it and where is the belief surrounded around, and then just breaking that belief. And I feel like sometimes people are out there and they're like, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. And they're really big goals. And I'm not saying that it cannot be accomplished. By all means, the biggest goal you set out there can be accomplished as fast as possible if you have the right tools or like the right, people to help get you there or the right vehicle, right? But sometimes it's much easier to break that goal down into actionable steps, right? So if your goal is to lose this much weight, or to change your eating habits, or to change your thinking habits, or to change something, maybe have an actual game plan that's really simple to do day by day, right? So if you're out there and you're like, I'm trying to make $1 million, well, you might not wake up tomorrow with $1 million, right? But what you can do is think, okay, what is my like money belief? Like, what do I believe about money? Why do I believe that? And can I change that belief? Right. And from there, set small actionable goals. Like, what are you going to do to achieve something great that you've never achieved before? Right. Like, there's so many different ways to make money. There's so many different ways to lose weight. There's so many different ways to do anything and everything you set out. But setting the small goals day by day means that you have a game plan, right? Whether it's, I am going to go to work today and I'm going to make this much. And when I make this much, I'm going to spend less than I typically spend because at least I can start saving. And saving is a small habit, right? And from there, it's like, well, I need to pay down debt, right? So, what is like the highest credit card debt or highest interest rate that I need to pay off first, right? And then, so you can save, you can pay off debt that's charging you a lot. And then you can also start to think about investing anything that you do have saved, right? So there's just so many ways and so many different avenues, but you have to start setting some of the small goals first that are really easy to do. And then you just have to keep compounding it and staying really consistent until you build a new habit, because that new habit that you build in doing the consistency of the work will eventually lead to something bigger than you ever saw before. Because how can you be someone or have something you've never had or someone you've never been if you don't even just start with like the small little things? So I feel like the small things, that's something that has helped me anytime I set some type of goal or I want to break some type of habit. It starts in small steps and it starts with a lot of consistency, because most of the time, why do people break their New Year's resolutions and when do they end up breaking their New Year's resolutions by, right? I think within the first quarter, the first 1 to 2 months, you go to the gym, everyone's in there next year, right? You'll start to see them drop off come like March or April. Why? Because they haven't built those habits and started the consistency of those small habits day by day.
Yeah, also there's many factors to it, but let's break it down right now because let's just get to it. So, be do have, right? This entire season, like season 3, season 4 of Fire Hour will start next year. But season 3, Fire Hour, it was all about be do have. And if you don't know who you want to be, if you don't know who you need to be, if you don't know the future version, the best version, the version that you want to be, right? Right now, then everything else that you do, if it's not consistent and aligned with who you are, then that's one of the reasons why it'll break. That's one of the reasons why if you set a goal, let's say for example, health-wise, okay? Like for everyone who, let's say for example, you want to lose weight for next year, right? That's one of your goals. If you don't identify as someone who has lost the weight already, then from there, all those goals and those habits that you've been creating to achieve the weight loss goal, it's going to be out of alignment. There's going to be a little bit of misalignment because your identity is not solidified in who you want to be, and who you need to be, and who that person is that lost the weight. So everything else that you do, it doesn't matter. Does that make sense? So it's the same thing. If you want to like make $1 million, right? Then that means that who do you need to be in order to make $1 million? It's be, do, have. Be and have, they are aligned in the same time. And then from there, the doing is just the habit. It's the consistency. It's the action. It's the decisions. It's the accountability. Like there's all these different, it's this community. There's many different ways to, to help you just achieve the one thing. That's it. So um, I think that what you're discussing is like the step by step, like, but I think you have like so many different layers to it. It's like you're talking about foundation, philosophy, the actions, the
Yeah.
consistency, right? So let's just break it down even further then, right? So let's break it down to three things, okay? Number one is first your identity, who you need to be, okay? Or who you want to be, or who you desire to be. So be first, okay? That's the identity. If you don't decide on like what you like who you want to be, then forget about everything else, okay? Because that's the foundation. And here's the thing too. This is what you were discussing yesterday or 2 days ago. Most people in life, okay? And this is not you guys because or if you identify with this, then good. Call it out for yourself. Check yourself. But everyone here is a leader. So here's the thing, if you are not willing to play long term, okay? Life is long. If you are not willing to play the long term game and do the work right now, this is the work, okay? Showing up to this fire hour, doing like laying the foundations, working on your philosophy, like leveling up your skill, working on yourself. If you are not willing to do the work, okay, then from there, you're playing short term automatically because your mindset, if you're not willing to do the work, your mindset is focused and committed and accountable to short-term thinking and to short-term actions, right? So that's what you were talking about before. Most people in life, if they don't know, if they're not aware, if they don't know better, they're just committed to short-term actions, short-term goals, short-term thinking. And because of that short-term thinking, that's their foundation and philosophy of their life. That's the way of their life. Then everything else that they set into motion is short term. So everyone here on Fire Hour is long term though. You guys are thinking with long term. I hope that you guys have this philosophy of long term thinking because when you do that, your foundation is really solidified. You start to like this is what I learned from I was listening to a discussion uh with a billionaire, and they were talking about how they don't even think in 5 years or 10 years. They're thinking about the next generation. Like that right there is like a different level of thinking. But this is what this is what I received from that information, okay? This is just for me and my what I just got from it. The longer you give yourself to think, right? The longer your time, like the longer your philosophy and the longer your pattern of recognition of everything that you do, it starts to change. Just simply because subconsciously and consciously you have a different timeline. You have a longer time span. So all the short-term thinking basically goes out the window. And now you revert and automatically direct your focus and energy and attention towards the long term, towards like the horizon. Like you have so much more breathing room, so much more space simply because of the time span. So that's like a new layer. It's like, how do you give yourself as much time possible first? That's the foundation, the infrastructure. How do you give yourself like 100-year time span? Because if you feel like you have 100 years to think, now from there, like how much space does that give you internally in your mind? How much space does that, how do you feel? Do you feel lighter? If you had only 24 hours to think about how you can come up with a 10-year game plan, like how much stress and pressure would that put on you, right? But if you have 100 years, 100 years to think, let's just say 50 years, because whatever, or whatever years you want to think, right? You have that time span. Now you have an infrastructure where it allows you to have space to think without having to worry about anything else, without having to worry about the pressures of the daily life, of the grind. Now you can really step back into the big picture. And that's the whole point, right? If part of like shaping up new habits is you got to step back first, figure out the big picture. Like 2024, one whole entire year. What's the big picture for yourself in 2024, in the next year, and in the year after that? What big picture goal do you have? Take a step back first. Who do you need to be, right? And then from there, what do you want to have? Give yourself that time, that space. And then from there, now we go into the next layer, which is foundation, right? So infrastructure is the time horizon. Foundation is what you want to be, what you want to have and what you want to be. From there, now the doing is about what she was talking about, which is all the little things, the habits, right? And those little things lead to big things and vice versa.
They matter.
They all matter.
They
Everything
matter
matters.
so much. Yeah.
Everything matters. So, and we're going to talk about just the formula again. It's trigger, action, pattern. Trigger, action, pattern. 3 steps. Simplify everything. Forget about all the old limiting beliefs. Forget about everything you've believed before. Question your beliefs now. Who you are today is someone who's different than who you were yesterday if you're doing the work, if you are raising your awareness, if you're increasing your awareness. Guess what? Awareness is number 1. Step 1 first. Become self-aware. And then from there, figure out who you want to be, do, have. And then from there, everything that you want to have will go back into the doing. That's why it's trigger, identify the action, right? The trigger. Then go to the actions and then the pattern will reveal itself. That's it. It's very simple. Let's keep everything as simple as possible. Let's not work harder, right? There's formulas out there. And even like ask ChatGPT, like use AI. Ask your mentors who've been there, right? There's so many clues that success leaves behind. But it's up to the willing student. It's to the serious student that is willing to acknowledge it, to drop the ego, to let the guard down, to open the mind, to turn the dream machine back on, to do the work. This right here is just the foundation, the very beginning, right? In 2 weeks, in a week, right? Basically, the new year, 2024 starts. Your new year starts today. It starts right now. There was literally a show, one of the quotes that they talked about in a show that we were watching last night. They say this, thumbs up. They say this. Every single day that you wake up is a fresh start. It's so simple. Like if you were awake at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. today, right? Your whole day started before fire hour, right? Today, right here, this is the time to wake up. This is the time to become self-aware. This is the time to take this time seriously. If you're here to show up on fire hour, then show up fully. Do your best to be fully present to do the work because there's clues, right? Not just from us, but look at the comments, look at the chat. That's why the chat is so important. And that's the community. It's because you all have valuable information to share. And the more information we share, it can unlock one thing. I was talking to a cleaner, you weren't here, but I was talking to our cleaner and again, he's like, the reason why we love having him, this is at least my opinion. The reason why I love talking to him is because he as a man, he has more wisdom than me. He's older than me. He has more wisdom than me. He has more life experience. And not only that, but he's also an entrepreneur. So that's why there's another layer to me and him. He's an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. I connect with him. And here's what he was talking to me. He was telling me this before he left. Okay. There was many lessons I learned in this one talk.
It's gone for a few days.
Yeah, there's many lessons I learned from this one talk with him. But I just love chatting with him because I love chatting with people who like any age, but I love chatting with them because this is the one thing I got from him. He said this, no matter what it is, no matter even if you don't understand it, no matter what anyone says, but if you talk to them, okay, if you connect with someone and you hear them out, you hear the message, he said this, for whatever reason, something in your mind unlocks. It could be one little thing that someone said that just like a year from now, it unlocks. And then from there, it changes your entire life. And he said that. And the reason why for me, the reason why I connect with that so well is because I know that's true. Because every single time I went out to network, or every single time I read a message, or every single time I connected with someone through socializing, through connecting with people. It's coming together with other people and talking and just having discussions and just hearing them out and discussing all our ideas, whatever. Something unlocks where now you just had another piece of puzzle to the entire blueprint. And from there, you can complete the puzzle and then you can move on to the next thing. For whatever reason that happens when you socialize, like humans, when we socialize and we connect, we come together and we bring our messaging together. You share what's on your mind. You share what's in your heart. You share whatever it is. That can literally be the one thing, that one word can change someone's life like that. It's happened for me many times. I'm sure it's happened for you, but that's the importance of a community, right? And that's part of the entire blueprint. That's part of the foundation. If you're building new habits and you don't have a community that will hold you accountable or that you can discuss and be together with, then guess what? How far are you going to go? How far are you really going to go on your own? You're only going to make it so far. But then you're going to come to a point where it's going to become a need that you need to be surrounded with people that are going in the same direction. That's the power of having a community. Everyone who doesn't have a community, they long for it. And guess what? In 2024, in the next year, you're going to start to see a lot more people trying to come together. You're going to start to see a lot more people taking community seriously. The beauty of this is that of Thrive, of Fire Hour, of all the Zoom calls, we have a community, right? We have a community that is going in the same direction. Guess what? Like, how many people need this community? How many people can use or can receive value from just being a part of a community like this, right? So this right here, that's part of habits. Like whatever habit you want to establish and you have it, you should surround yourself or join other communities that have that habit established already, that they're going towards that direction, right? If you want, like, for example, like business acquisitions, right? There's a mastermind community out there that Crystal has her eye on, and it's a mastermind that she would be joining simply because it's part of the direction that we want to go, right? It's about finding those communities and then from there taking action and then committing, right? How can you make it easier for yourself, right? Why not make your life easier? Why not like, and I'm talking about like, you're doing the work, which is the hard work, but making your life easier is the tools, the resources, the success that the clues that are left behind from the success, right? So like how and here's the thing too, like with success, right? With wealth, it's so simple. It's so simple. Why? It's because it's a science basically. So you can break it down into very simple steps, like a business plan. Why does a business plan exist? It's literally step-by-step instructions on how to like build a business. It's that simple. And then all you have to do is follow the plan to the T, to the best of your ability, and to innovate and obviously create and adapt and evolve because that's what the world is doing. The world forces you to evolve, right? For you, everyone here, as a leader, every single day that we go on Fire Hour, I always bring this up. I always challenge you to become the best version of yourself. And the reason for that is because you're thinking long term. You're thinking about your life and everyone that you're going to impact and, empower by being your best version of yourself. By you just being you, you automatically create a ripple effect that influences others in a positive direction, in a positive way, simply because of your energy, your message, who you are, how you live, your values, all these different elements that make you you, that make you the unique version of yourself now. That right there changes other people's lives. That right there impacts and influences and inspires other people to become the best version of themselves, right? Here's what we can do. Like as we're going to start to be posting on social media, right? And so like obviously a goal, I guess, would be that Fire Hour grows, the community grows, right? But guess what? It's only going to grow if we put in the work. If it's only going to grow if we embrace, like going out there, like, putting ourselves out there. In 2024, there's going to be so many people, a boom of people building their personal brands, right? That's one direction, right? That's already a goal. Everyone here who's already building Thrive, you guys have a personal brand. How many other people would join you to help them build their personal brand? How many people would want to be accountable or join your community because their goals are aligned with you, right? Even if they're not thriving, guess what? right? It's just about education. It's about learning, right? This is what we're going to do in 2024 for Fire Hour. I was thinking about
I
it.
was gonna say, what are we gonna do? What's the game plan? This is new to me too.
Well, here's the thing. Like for me, one of the things that I reflected on, like this is what I'm going to be changing like drastically, and I've been making those changes, is, you know, there's the 5 Ps, okay? It's a framework, it's a quote, and I'll read Angela's thing. Let me read Angela's thing first. So Angela says, so Jackie says right foundation, right? That's very true. Angela says, start small in everything, broken down to how to, the how-tos, yes, the specifics, right? The actions. That's the plan. That's where the plan comes in. And I'm going to talk about it, the 5 Ps. The questions you will ask will be the solution. You will actually find clarity, reflecting, and wanting growth. People only reflect when it's year end or when something drastic happens. Personal growth happens for me when I reflected every day. Yes, exactly.
That's very powerful. It's like journaling.
Yeah.
If you guys don't journal, it's something that really helps because it's kind of like you talking to you. And it's like you can say something to someone, but they really don't know. But when you're actually talking to yourself, like you're a bit more honest on like what's really happening, right? There a little bit of the pressure is off.
Yeah.
So sometimes if you journal and self-reflect, it's like you kind of just let your mind flow through and you'll start to uncover the answers that you were looking for, or you'll start to see some of the things that you're like, wait, I remember I wanted to change that, or I wanted to do things a little bit differently.
Hmm.
So I think that's such a great point, Angela, is like the self-reflection every day. And that could be you sitting, taking 5 or 10 minutes, evaluating how did today go? Or even journaling.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring up a point about what
Yeah.
you said about the long term,
Mm.
because that's something that I didn't bring up. But when you started bringing that up, I was like thinking back how I applied that, right? And so it's so true though. Like most people,
Yeah.
they're always, not always, but they're very short term. Like if I set a goal and I don't hit this goal, I'm done. Like I'm not going to try anymore.
Like think about it for yourself, right? Like forget about most people. Think about you, okay? Like think about you. Do you, in certain aspects of your life, do you do that? Are you thinking short term in some aspects of your life, right? And there's no right or wrong. Like this is subjective to what you believe and what you think. But again, like that's why your future version, your best version of yourself, the best version of yourself. You compare yourself to who you are in the future, not to who you were in the past. Forget about the past of the past. You have everything from the past right now. Let's think about the future. Like future pace yourself. Like look towards the future, the best version of you. Who's that best version, that ideal version of yourself that you want to build? That you want to like you want to sculpt to perfection. Like that's what you're doing, your character. You're perfecting your character, you're perfecting your values, you're perfecting your life, right? You're living your best life. Guess what? Having fun, right? Doing all the work. All of the work is the fun, right? The journey is this process. So look at yourself first. Everything that we discuss, everything that you say, right? All the things that she's saying, like all the most people's is you, okay? Put yourself in those most people's positions. That's you. Identify with you. Look at yourself. Look at who you are. Look at the leader within. Look at the things that you want to change, that you identify, that you are now becoming aware of. Look at yourself and don't look at anyone else. Look at yourself and then compare yourself to the future version of yourself, the best version of yourself. Who is that version? What do you need to change? What things do you need to take away, let go of, replace, move towards? What are those values that you want to start to embrace? That's how change happens, right? Embrace change and be daring. That's one of my favorite quotes. Another one is in order to like the best way to predict the future is to create it, right? That was one of the very first quotes I ever learned in 2013, like when I started to step into entrepreneurship. The best way to predict the future is to create it. You create your future. How? Be, do, have. What do you want to have in the future? Who do you need to be now? Do the work, and then from there, you bridge the gap between the past and the present and the future, all in one. It's in one moment. So everything that we discuss, I really hope that you recognize this throughout this entire past year of Fire Hour, is everything that we're discussing. It's not about you looking and you taking this knowledge and then looking at someone else. It's about you taking this knowledge and then from there looking at yourself. Look at who you are in the mirror, right? Look at who you want to be, what you want to change, what you want to become. That's what we're doing in this life. Who are we becoming in the process? Who are we becoming in this process? And what impact are we leaving behind? Right? That right there, whatever your message is, whatever your mission is, whatever your purpose is, whatever your vision is, first look at yourself. Don't look at anyone else. Look at yourself and really dive deeper into that. Dive deeper into who you are authentically within, who you need to be, who you know you can be. Dive deeper into that and then express that out if you want to. Express that out if you need to. Express that out if that's your mission, if that's your purpose, right? That right there, I don't know. I just had to.
No, I think that's great.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're setting goals, for me, sometimes I don't really like to tell people what I'm changing about myself or what I want to do or what I'm trying to do, because I feel like if one day, 2 days, 3 days, I don't do it, I'm like, oh man, like that's horrible, right? I usually like to kind of take action on it and be consistent with it to the point where I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, I did set that goal of doing that, right? And I didn't really say anything to anyone because I wanted to make sure that I can stay accountable to my words, because your words have a lot of weight, right? And speaking is the same thing as doing, right? Like if you speak, that's energy. If you do, that's energy. So if sometimes you just don't say it and you actually go and do it, one thing gets things done, right? Like taking the action. So long-term play is, I feel like, one of the most valuable things for me personally that I thought of, because when I was younger, before I had kids, I never really thought about marriage and kids, right? I just thought of making money and buying a house for my mom and my brother. And I also thought long term. But when I started having kids, or when I started reading and understanding things, I was like, if I ever have kids, I'm going to set a trust up. And this trust is going to look like this. The trustee will have these certain rules for them to be able to gain or access certain things, right? So I was already thinking very long term into the next generation. So when you shoot your goals very far out there and that is your vision, subconsciously your mind will start working on those things. And I think over 10 plus years ago, I had trust set up and I had like rules. I went over everything with the attorneys, like, this is what I want done. This is, and every year I evaluate it. So going back to what you were saying, like the billionaire mindset, right? They said, look at the next generation. And so I actually did that over 10 plus 20 plus years ago, because I was like, I don't want my kids to struggle one day if I do have kids, just because of what I've seen, like with my parents and, maybe like my family and stuff.
Yeah,
So
makes
if
sense.
you think long term, your mind will subconsciously work towards those goals. You won't give up as easily, because it's like, okay, so what? You didn't get that one thing done today. Like that's something that you can still get done, right? That's still something you want to get done. So I feel like that's a very powerful framework that you kind of just help break down for me to understand, because I was like, oh yeah, I remember I was doing that then. And when you think long term, it's like you don't quit on yourself so quickly, right? Because I think that it's so easy to quit on yourself or to set this goal and then to know that you said it, say it out loud, you didn't do it. And now you're like, well, I didn't do it. So I'm just going to continue not doing it.
Yeah, and then also like when you start to think long term, you change your mindset and your thinking process, and you
Yeah.
give yourself that horizon, right? You literally give yourself that timeline, that span of time. Guess what? Everything that happens after that is what she said. You start to make different decisions, because life is just about decisions, right? Life, you all have choices. So life is just about the decisions that you make. All the decisions that you made summed up your life right now. Does that make sense? Isn't that true? If you think about it, the compound effect. This is a book. If you have not listened to the compound effect, if you haven't picked it up yet, the compound effect literally talks about this. How one decision can literally change the trajectory of your life. Okay. So have you read the book?
No, you told me about it and I thought about it and I'm like, wow, I have not read a lot of books. To be honest with you guys, I have
That's
not
okay.
read a lot of books. I have not seen a lot of videos. I did not dive in as deep into self-development until I became a part of this community, a part of Thrive, right? Where you self-develop and the best version of yourself is going to be able to be that future self you've always envisioned before, but never had the community or the tools to. So
Yeah.
all these things, like I didn't do all these things, but I did a lot of self-reflection. Like I would
Yeah,
talk to
that's huge.
myself a lot in my mind. Like, what was my goal? What did I say I was going to do? What did I do? Did I mark that box off? Can I do better tomorrow? So growing up, I didn't really read books or go on YouTube or have a mentor.
Yeah.
I just did what I needed to do and it got done.
Well, guess what? Like there's many ways to that path, right? Like books are just a tool, right? But guess what? Reflecting and going within, that's a tool as well, right? So there's many different tools that you can leverage. Just what tool works best for you, right? If books is not like something that, you are keen to, then guess what? That's totally fine, right? Just look for the tools, like, or leverage the tools that you have. Just be resourceful. And from there, however it works for you, then that's good. Like, there's no right or wrong.
I wish I did though. I wish I
Oh,
did. I do really wish that I had the tools available to me because I know that if I had the tools available to me, if someone was like, you got to pick this book up and read it or listen to the Audible, like you have to, like, there's things in here that's gold that's going to help you. I would have done that. But like, I didn't have mentors telling me, like, hey, read this book, read that book, look up this, look up that. Like, it was just me. It was just
yeah.
me and my hunger and my belief that I will do it. I can do it no matter how long it's going to take me, and setting like the small actionable steps of day by day. Well, how do I get there? It was a lot of saying no's. There was a lot of no's. No, I can't go out. It's a weeknight. It's like,
Good.
who cares? You don't have any kids. It's like, I'm like, no, I need to get this much sleep in order for me to function like this. So I perform like this. So I had a very pretty like rigid schedule. But I wish that I had books. I wish I read more books. I wish that I went to more seminars and events and surrounded myself around people who've already obtained or achieved the goals that I wanted to obtain, because you start to assimilate, like, how do they act? How do they speak? What do they do? Right? Because when you start to see all the little habits that they do, you're like, oh, that's interesting. It's so small, but it is really so big. And so I honestly wish I had mentors and I read more books and I had someone guiding me. And now, like, I have like I have you like guiding me, like, oh, read this book, read this book, read that book, or have you heard about this book? This is what this book is about. But then also when you tell me about those different books or show me those different videos, I'm like, oh yeah, I did that before, but I never learned it. I just did it.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
interesting to see kind of like the frameworks. And I know that, I possibly could be further now had I done that work then, but I didn't have anyone that was like, I've read 1,000 books and here are like the 100 best books if you have this goal or this goal, because there's so many things out there. Like, what do you know who does what? Like so many people can say, I can do this, I can do that. Like, I'm this guru, I'm this, I'm that. And it's like, did you really do it for yourself though? Like, did you actually put that into action for yourself? Right. And it's not that people that don't do it for themselves don't have it. They can have the knowledge, right? So absorb the knowledge, take the knowledge and run with it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like, how do you know who to believe? So sometimes I show you books, I show you videos, and you're like, this person learned it from here, 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 here. You help me go back to the source. And I'm like, wow, well, I'm just gonna go to the source then.
Yeah, and this is like what I learned, right? The framework is shoot to the top. So the top of the top is basically, uh-oh, the baby just woke up. If you want to learn something, right? Okay, again, success leaves clues. So if you want to learn something, chances are someone has already done it, right? Like there's just so many examples, but someone has already done it. The goal is just to find the tools, like look for the clues, look for the clues that people have left behind, and just from there, if you're seeking that, then leverage that tool, use the tool, and then do the work. right? If you can't find the tools, just go within, do the work, right? It's the same exact things. It just looks different. Okay. All these paths just look different, but it's basically the same thing. And so when it comes to like like finding sources, like who is the top of the top, right? It's just about research. We all have phones. We all have access to the internet right now, right? So let's just use it and just take action on it. It's that simple. Okay. The 5 Ps, right? The 5 Ps is proper planning prevents poor performance. Okay. Proper planning prevents poor performance. That's one of the things that I've been intentionally focused on, right? Everything I've done for the past like year and a half, 2 years, I was reflecting and I'm like, oh my gosh, like how do I work smarter? Remember, I want to work smarter, not harder. I'm already exhausted, right? I'm already working as hard as I can. I don't want to work any harder than I am already working. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't overcommit myself to working even harder. All I can do is work smarter. All I can do is level up my information, my knowledge, my wisdom, my experience, right? And also like acquire talent, build teams around me, build teams around her, build teams around us, build teams around everything that we need. Because again, we can only go so far by ourselves. And I already know that. I already know where I want to go. So why am I gonna push myself so hard when I already know that there's a better way? I'm not anymore, right? That's why it's about, surrounding yourself with a community that's going in the right direction, in the same direction as you. And then from there, trying to figure out how can everything work together? How can it be a win-win-win for everyone, right? So this, the reason why I bring up the 5 Ps is because it's exactly what we're talking about. It's the habits. If you decide to change a habit because you want to replace the habit, a bad habit, whatever that is, well, guess what? How can you make it even easier for yourself to accomplish it? How can you make it easy for yourself to stick with that habit? How can you make it easy for yourself to achieve the goals that you set or the resolutions or whatever your desire is to fulfill it? How do you make it easier for yourself? One of the ways is the 5 Ps. It's proper planning. Okay. You want to plan properly and get organized, right? This one of the goals I had for last year was so I want to have my calendar a year in advance booked. Okay. I only got to like 6 months. And then there's like some in between, like for the entire year. I have I already have a clue for myself of what I use as a reference. So I'm part of a community, like a community that they have their years, they have 2 years planned out already. Everything that's going to happen is already planned out for the next 2 years. Now, because it's already planned out, right? This is that quote. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. But it becomes worse than that. If you fail to plan, then you become part of someone else's plan. You become part of someone else's plan when you fail to plan for yourself.
Yeah.
So guess what? Right? As a big organization, if you have a big organization, you're a leader and you lead a community. Guess what? You need to have all your plans set up, your events and dates set up ahead of time before everyone else starts to plan their dates. The reason for that is because one, it's going to help you accomplish your goal. Number two, it's going to help other people who don't have plans yet help like join you. Because if it aligns with them, if it aligns with their goals, then why wouldn't they join you? Right? Why wouldn't you guys like join forces together? Okay. So no, that's part of leadership, right? If you are a leader, guess what? You need to have all your dates scheduled out ahead of time. So that way you have that thinking time. You have that space. You give yourself that space, right? You give yourself that space to think clearly with clarity. Once you think with clarity, then you have the direction. And now everything else is easier. It just becomes easier. So for you, whatever habits it is, okay, whether it's big habits, small habits, whatever, okay, look at the schedule. Like, look at your schedule for yourself in your life. And this is your personal life first. Personal life is everything. If you have a family, family is everything. That's number one. Schedule everything out for your family for the next year. Do your best and just go fast. It takes 30 minutes, an hour max. Like this date, we want to go here. This date, we want to go here. This date, we got to be here. This date, there's a wedding. This date, whatever. Okay. That right there, just schedule everything out. And then after you do that, right? If something comes up I'm sorry, not after, but during, if something comes up, give yourself that framework. Like, what are you going to say yes to? And what are you going to say no to?
If someone invites me to a nightclub, I'm saying no. Why? What does that do for me now? Right? Before, when I was single, I was going out networking. I was building my business, my personal brand. I was out every day networking, socializing, connecting. Guess what? That season for me is over. The next season for me now is a new beginning. It's something else that I want to pursue. Jackie says I do this because I know my weeks off with the kids. Boom. That's a perfect example, right? You block that time off for your children. You block that time off for your loved ones. This is something that everyone, in my opinion, who's a leader and taking this seriously will do. Not should do, but will do. Okay. And that's how I pencil in my travels, locals, etc. Wow. Yeah. So you see that when you have control of your schedule, right? If you have the chance to do that and the opportunity, and you also have deserved it, then guess what? This right here, planning out everything that you can. Just go stretch, okay? 2024, next year, right? Starts now. But stretch yourself. Stretch what you think is that you're capable of. Stretch what you think you're capable of. Stretch your beliefs. Stretch your dreams. Like do the work. You've been showing up on Fire Hour. Like you have the work. You have the knowledge. You have the experience. You have the skill set. You can do it. It's just a matter of making the decision and taking action. That's it. Make the decision, take the action, see the results. Okay? That was pretty good, huh? Let's see. Angela, plan before. This business, it's important to do it way before month end. I'm closing out dials today so I can enjoy my month end. I'm literally working and closing it right now. Don't wait. Yes, that's very true. You got to front load. It's a 30-day run every single month. You got to front load all the work, front load all the momentum. And then from there, when month end comes near, you're looking at the results. You're like, all right, well, how can I plan for the next month? Right? Keep on going better, better, better. Right?
There was a book you told me about. You said it's called The Power of Now.
Hmm.
Is that what it is? It's kind of like if you can do something now, if it doesn't take you that much time or that much effort, and you know you can do it now, like why not do it now?
No, the power of now is that's more
Is it
about
completely different?
yeah, it's about being like present. It's that's like a more inner work.
Okay, so this isn't about the book. This is if you can do it now, just do it now, okay?
Yeah, yeah. So whatever you can do, like that's about prioritizing things, okay? Like priority. What is priority? What's number one? And if you look at it, like do you like ask yourself the question, if you have to do something, right? Like do you have to do it right now? Does it actually matter right now? If it takes like 1 second, guess what? There's going to be things that always take 1 second.
Yeah,
So then you fall into other people's plans. You fall out of your plan.
yeah,
That's why it's important to prioritize. Like for me, it's so simple, okay? It's very simple. Like, okay, let's say a baby. If you have a baby and the baby's hungry, do you need to feed the baby now or later? You need to feed it now, okay? So go just drop everything you're doing, feed it now, okay? It's the same, it's with everything.
I think there's so many layers to it because for me, if someone's like, hey, like this or that needs to get done, if I know I can do it within the next 5 to 10 minutes, then I just get it done. Because if I'm gonna be asked about it or I'm gonna have to do it again or hear about it in like a week, a couple days, a couple months, I'm like, man, I should have just took that 5 minutes to clear it off my plate and I wouldn't have to hear about it again because it's sometimes the same energy to think about it and to kind of plan the actions you're going to take to do what they said, and then to also schedule it out, right, for a future timing.
Yeah, but
But there's layers to it.
it just depends on what your position is, okay? So like there is many layers. Like for example, if you have a business and you have $0 in your business, then what's the priority? Priority is marketing. Why? It's because you need to get attention on your business. You don't have to do anything else but market. That's
Yeah.
it. And then once marketing happens, it's in play, then guess what? Now you have opportunity. You give yourself and create opportunities to make sales. And then once you make sales, now you have fulfilled the priority. Does that make sense? So it just depends on your position. Like when it comes to long term, like operations, etc., all these things, like it just depends on what it is. Like uh, there's just too many
It's a
examples.
lot of layers to it.
Too like it.
You would know better on, based on your priorities and based on the plans that you create for yourself of what's most important.
Yeah, like it's just subjective to like your life, like what's happening in your life. And then again, like there's levels to life, right? There's levels to life. So it just depends on what it is. But the best way to get answers is to ask a question, right? If you don't ask the question, an answer will never come, right? Even if you ask it internally, ask the questions internally, journal it out, ask in the community, ask in the chats, ask in what, just ask the question. Seek and you shall find, right? So ask and then you shall receive. It's just so simple. And leisure, you see me enjoying my normal life too. Real friends, non-thrivers, and finding new networks. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. You know, have fun. Like that was one of the things that like, we should instill even further in the next year. Like in today. How can you have more fun today? Right? Angela says, thank you so much for these calls. I find so much value from you both. You guys align with who I am and it lights my fire. You guys are appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. No, we appreciate you and we appreciate everyone here. Like this is, the reason why we do this, again, this is how we can contribute to Thrive, to our community here, like to this community. Like we're obviously, I'm definitely not in the chats just because I'm just not. But she's in the chat sometimes. But the way that we can present ourselves with full focus and intention, like pour ourselves, give ourselves, like all of ourselves to you, is on Fire Hour. That's why we do Fire Hour. Like this is how we can show up for everyone. And if we show up to the events because we can, then we do, right? And that's the thing. For us, this is how we show up. We show up for this community this way. And then we post it on YouTube. We post it on social media for everyone who hasn't been able to go on. Like it's there. The resources are there. I take my extra time. Sometimes it takes me an hour, 2 hours to get it up there, but I take that time to do it. So it's not just for us, it's for you as well. It's for everyone here in this community. This is how we show up for the Thrive community. And maybe it'll change in the future, but as of right now, what we've been doing for the past year and for the past 3 years is this is how we showed up. This is how we show up. This is how we can pour all of us into you. This is how we contribute, right? So however you show up for everyone else, like if you can figure that out for yourself, like put 100% in when you decide to do something. Like you show up for your people. You show up for your community. You show up for the people that are following you. You show up for the people that, look up to you, right? That you are influencing in a positive way. How do you show up for them? And how do you commit 100% to showing up for them at all times like that? Okay. You'll never see me. Okay. You'll never see me in the chats unless like I really feel like I need to say something. You won't see me because I just can't show up that way. It's just if I do that, I'm overcommitting for my schedule. Does that make sense? I know my boundaries. I know what I need to do, what I don't need to do. For me, like the way I can show up for everyone here is like this, right? And then post it on social media, etc. Same thing with Crystal. And what she talked about too, like words. Words are energy, right? If you look at the 4 agreements, this is something that I recently learned about energy. And it goes into everything, right? I'll do another call that really explains like what I feel inside about energy. But one of our mentors, our guides, they told us like be greedy with your energy. Be greedy with your energy. And when they said that one little phrase, I was like, oh my God, it just unlocked. It unlocked so much. It unlocked so much for me and it helped me achieve my goals. It helped me step into who I need to be, into who my future self, the best version of myself. That was part of the things that I was missing. And when they said be greedy with your energy, then I was like, wow, I have to reorganize my thinking. Like it actually gave me a longer time horizon for me to think clearly. And so that's the thing, right? Everything that we talk about on Fire Hour, it's because we've been doing the work and we're still doing it or it's already played out, right? And so guess what? We're sharing whatever we can that we think will add value, right? One thing that we say throughout all this past year may have changed or impacted your life in a positive way, right? At least that's the hope. But again, it just depends on how serious are you taking all the clues, right? What clues are you picking up? What clues are you actually, taking seriously and implementing it into your life? Not just from us. This is just Fire Hour is just a tool for you. What other tools are out there, right? Who else is out there that you can learn from, right? And then from there, one of my mentors told me, like, one of the wisest things he said was, there's so many clues out there. There's so many mentors, there's so many books, there's so many resources, there's so many guides. Like, do your best to find at least 5 that you will stick with and revisit over and over and over again for the rest of your life, right? For me, one of those clues is Jim Rohn. And it just so happens to be that Jim Rohn is network marketing. It really has a philosophy for network marketing. Well, guess what? Thrive is network marketing. Why not pick up that clue and learn from Jim Rohn, right? Why not? He's the one at the top, the one that has set the foundation for the philosophy of thinking, and especially for building your network marketing business. If you are new to network marketing, or if you are building network marketing, or you're pursuing entrepreneurship, guess what? No matter what, sometime in your entrepreneurship journey, Jim Rohn will help you. I'm telling you that right now. His knowledge will help you, okay? But it's up to you. He scaled my business. I love his personal philosophy. Yes. Yeah, 100%. His philosophy, I ingrained his philosophy and part of my foundation of my thinking, because it's just, he has wisdom, right? So I just grabbed it and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take it seriously. I'm gonna be that serious student and apply his wisdom, okay? So, again, with the proper planning, okay? Profits over wages, yes. The planning for you, especially when you want to change a habit. Like, you gotta get organized. Like, you see this right here, you see it in the Zoom, this is not organized. This is the things I need to go through to like get rid of. I'm trying to get rid of everything. So organize, right? Organize everything. Plan out everything to the best of your ability, but don't take too long in the planning, okay? Don't take too long. Just decide, take action, and then see the result, okay? And when it comes to the planning, schedule everything, okay? Schedule ahead of time. Schedule everything in. Like, we want to take a trip to Hawaii. That's what we're thinking about. Well, guess what? We're literally just looking at the calendar, picking a date, and booking it. That's it. Schedule ahead of time. And if you don't know if you're going to make it, guess what? Do your best. Just get a refund, right? Just get a refund later. I mean, that's financial advice. I'm not going to give you financial advice, but his wisdom is very simplified, easy to get, easy to understand. Yes, 100%. So organization is key though, okay? Planning everything is key. Giving yourself that space, creating that space for yourself is key. And then from there, that's where you can, after you have this tedious, boring work sometimes, right? It's fun to plan too though, okay? Because you're creating your future, you're creating your next year. You get to create your year. Even if you have a job and you feel like you have 2 jobs, 3 jobs, okay? And you have so many things happening. You don't have time for yourself. Well, create it. Create the time for yourself. Schedule all these things in, okay? Create the fun. Yes. Have fun. Schedule fun in no matter what. Teaches about seasons and planting seeds. That's the long-term vision. Be committed to the bigger picture. Yes. And guess what? What season are we going in? What season? What comes after the winter?
The New Year season.
Spring.
We're going
Spring.
into the new year.
This is a time to just, really have fun. Have a lot of fun. Fun will create the results, and that's the truth. And so again, creating habits, identify the trigger, replace the action, see the pattern. That's it. That's the formula. Okay. It's 3-step formula. And then from there, scheduling everything out, the 5 P's. Proper planning prevents poor performance. Schedule everything out. Plan everything that you can. Okay. Plan everything that you can. So that way you create that space for yourself and start to think long term. Just to let everyone know, this is the last fire hour of the year. Okay. We're gonna restart in January, but this is the last fire hour of the year. And this right here, if you take this seriously, you do the work. If you've already done this, take this seriously though, for yourself. This is for you. Next year, right? From a year from now, next year, if you want it to be changed, then the change will happen with you, right? A year from now, December 20th, 2023, December 2024, who are you going to be? How does your life change? How did your life change from all the work you've done? How did your life change from you showing up for every single decision that you took seriously? How is your life changed a year from now? What's it going to look like? What kind of vision are you going to be creating? What kind of dream life did you live for 2024? How many people have you impacted, right? All these different ideas, these different things that you're going after, the intangibles, everything, okay? 1 year, one entire year you have, like what's going to change? What's the number one thing you want to change? If you could only change one thing, what would it be? What would make your life like happy? You know, if you change that one thing, right? Are you dreaming about it right now? Like
No, I'm just thinking about a quote that you said before, but I don't remember it, so I don't want to butcher it. And it's about habits, right?
Okay.
It's literally a quote about habits and something about like the chains of habits or
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, change your habit, change your life. No.
no.
Yeah, the chains of habits, okay?
Yes,
This is a
this
quote.
one.
The chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too strong to be broken. The chains of habit, okay? The chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too strong to be broken. That means that, you know, the smallest thing, small hinges swing big doors, small holes sink big ships.
Mhm.
Small changes change your life. I'm telling you right now, the smallest thing, the small habits, everything is a small habit until it's too big, until it's a big habit.
Until the compound effect took place within those small habits.
Exactly. Everything. Your budget. If you decide to save $500, $1,000, $10,000 a month, that was a big jump. If you decided to save that, right? It starts with small, 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 small. Everything is small, 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 and then it becomes big.
Yep.
They say Rome wasn't built in a day. It was built daily. Guess what? The smallest things shape the biggest things, okay? You are crafting yourself to perfection. You are working, doing the work. You are showing up on Fire Hour for you, for your future life, for your family, for the people that you love, for your vision, for your goals, for your dreams, for your life, for the best life that you can ever have. Guess what? It's up to you because you create it. So Jackie says a whole freaking year of Fire Hour. We can't commit, but we will do our best.
We're gonna do our best, yeah.
Yeah, it's
We've
gonna be
started
good.
pretty, yeah. You guys have actually watched our relationship on Fire Hour.
Oh yeah.
Because we started in May of 2020, April or May of 2020. It started with
Wow.
me first in March or April of 2020, and then he hopped on by accident in May of 2020, and you guys have literally watched our relationship.
Everyone who's been on Fire Hour since season 1, 2020 Fire Hour, you definitely have seen, you've seen our relationship. Literally, our relationship is documented on Fire Hour. That's crazy.
See you guys next year. I love you too.
Happy New Year. Have fun.
We love you
Crush
guys.
it. Live your best life. Don't regret anything. Okay? Don't regret anything. Just have fun. Have fun. Create the best version of yourself. Create the best life that you can live. And just enjoy the process. Enjoy the journey. Okay? So we love you all.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year. And 2024. Let's get it.
Love you guys.
Love you all.
Bye.
Dominate your path. Make it happen. We believe in you. All right. See you next year.